Okay, look, so before you click off, everything I'm about to tell you is documented. From court records to FBI files, testimonies from the church who were inside for decades. This is all real. There's an organization operating right now with offices here in South Africa that makes its most committed members sign a contract. Not for 5 years, not for life, a billion-year contract. The policy states that enemies can be, quote, injured by any means. They've locked people in rooms against their will. They've torn families apart, and they are legally recognized as a church. So, faith or cult? By the end of this video, you'll know exactly where I stand, and I promise you the truth is way weirder than anything I could have made up. To understand Scientology, you need to understand one man, L. Ron Hubbard, born 1911, Nebraska. And this guy had two things in abundance from a very young age: imagination and the ability to spew nonsense with total confidence. Before Scientology, he was a writer. He wasn't a respected, famous writer. He wrote cheap pulp science fiction that sold at petrol stations for 50 cents. Now, here is a quote that you need to tattoo into your brain for this entire video. This was even confirmed by his own colleagues. Hubbard said, "Writing for a penny a word is ridiculous. If a man really wanted to make $1 million, the best way would be to start his own religion." And he said that out loud in front of witnesses, and then went and did exactly that. In 1950, he publishes a book called Dianetics. His theory is that every traumatic experience you've ever had gets recorded into your brain as an engram. These engrams are stored in your reactive mind, and they cause every problem you have, from depression, anxiety, physical illness, and all of it. And the way you remove them is through one-on-one sessions called auditing, where you hold two metal cans connected to a device called an e-meter and talk through all your trauma until the needle says you are clean. Now, Dianetics becomes a bestseller. Post-World War II, people are broken and desperate for answers. And here comes this confident man saying, "I have figured out the human mind." Now, people wanted that to be true. Then in 1952, Hubbard loses his rights to Dianetics in a bankruptcy case. His own intellectual property is taken from him in court. Now, a normal person would move on, but Hubbard starts his own religion. The Church of Scientology is officially founded in 1954, and the genius of that move, the cold calculated genius, is that as a church, it is protected under religious freedom laws. It cannot be taxed, and it's much harder to regulate. And suddenly, the government can't easily touch it. He told everyone what he was building before he even built it. He didn't try to hide it. So now that you've joined, what actually happens? You see, everything in Scientology is built around something called the bridge to total freedom. Think of it as a video game. Levels you climb through, each one supposedly bringing you closer to spiritual perfection. Except, every single level costs money. The early stuff isn't expensive. You have a free personality test, a book that costs a couple $100, etc. The community is also warm and welcoming, but this is by design. It's a slow pull. But as you go deeper, the auditing sessions, those one-on-one e-meter sessions, cost around 15,000 Rand per hour, and the full course and book package around 75,000 Rand. And to reach the very top of the bridge, roughly 9 million Rand. 9 million. And here's what makes the auditing sessions more sinister than just being expensive. Everything you say is being written down. So every secret, every trauma, every embarrassing thing you've ever done is kept on file by the church. Multiple former senior members have confirmed that if you try to speak up or leave the church, Those files became ammunition. Your deepest confessions used against you to keep you quiet. You're not paying for therapy, you're paying for someone to build a blackmail file on yourself. Okay, so now let's dive into the actual practices. These are things that members have to do. So before you can even properly begin auditing, most members must complete something called the purification rundown. The theory is that your body is full of toxins, of drugs, of chemicals, and radiation, and these toxins are sitting in your fatty tissues, blocking your spiritual progress. So Scientology's solution to this is that every day, for up to 5 weeks, you exercise, and then you sit in a sauna for up to 5 hours. And then you take a cocktail of vitamins, including niacin, building up to 5,000 milligrams a day. That's 50 times the recommended daily limit. And then to top it all off, you drink a blend of vegetable oils. Now, real science says that your liver and your kidneys remove toxins, not a sauna. The FDA once destroyed over 20,000 of Hubbard's radiation cure tablets. Independent scientists say that the toxin levels in sweat don't count. There is no evidence this program does what it claims, but members are strongly encouraged, effectively required to complete it before they advance, and cost money, obviously. Now, Scientology also has a procedure for dealing with members who have a mental breakdown. It's called the introspection rundown, and their approach is not to call a doctor, because Scientology teaches that psychiatry itself is a form of abuse. Instead, the procedure involves isolating the person completely. Total silence, no outside contact, no psychiatric care, just Scientology caretakers watching them until they, quote, come out of it. In 1995, a 36-year-old woman called Lisa McPherson had been a Scientologist for 13 years. She worked hard, spent everything, and had just achieved clear, a massive milestone in Scientology. 2 months later, she had a complete mental breakdown after a minor car accident. Church members pulled her out of hospital, and for 17 days, she was kept in a hotel room at the Scientology headquarters under the introspection rundown. No outside contact, no real medical care. Just a Scientologist doctor who prescribed her sedatives over the phone without really examining her. The caretaker logs, later presented as court evidence, described her as hitting the walls trying to escape. She also attacked the caretaker with a potted plant. She was unable to eat or drink. She said that she was L. Ron Hubbard, and she also developed a severe rash all over her face. She was found unresponsive on December 5th. Her caretakers took her to 4 closer hospitals trying to reach one with a Scientologist doctor. She was pronounced dead on arrival, severely dehydrated, with no proper water for at least the 5 to 10 days of her life. Florida charged Scientology with abuse of a disabled adult and practicing medicine without a license. The church spent an estimated $30 million fighting the case. It was settled out of court. No one went to prison. And the caretaker's log for Lisa's final 3 days? Shredded. The church's own officer admitted that under oath. Lisa McPherson joined Scientology at 18. She died at 36, and no one was held accountable. Okay, let's talk about what actually happens at the top of the bridge. The secret knowledge that the whole 9 million rand is supposedly building towards. At OT Level 3, one of the most advanced stages, members receive the secret materials. These are kept in a briefcase that is physically handcuffed to whoever is carrying it. Members sign legal documents not to reveal the contents. Hubbard himself warned that people who find out unprepared will become physically ill from the shock. So what's inside? So about 75 million years ago, there was a galactic confederation. 76 planets, a ruler, a tyrant named Zenu, had an overpopulation problem. The solution? Drug billions of people, freeze them, load them into spacecrafts. Hubbard specifically described these as Douglas DC-8 airplanes with rocket engines. Fly them to Earth, stack them around volcanoes, and blow them up with hydrogen bombs. The souls of those people, called body theatans, were then captured and shown 3D films for 36 days that implanted false religious beliefs into them, including, according to Hubbard, the concept of heaven and the crucifixion of Christ. After that, these confused souls attached themselves to the surviving humans on Earth. And according to Scientology, you have thousands of these alien soul clusters stuck on your body right now. Every human does, and only Scientology's advanced levels can remove them. Now, this man spent his whole career writing cheap sci-fi. He said starting a religion was the best way to make money. And the secret at the top of his religion, the one in which you have to pay 9 million rand in order to reach, is a sci-fi story about an alien warlord using airplanes in space. And it's confirmed. Court documents, former senior executive, FBA files. The church doesn't fully deny it. They just hide it from new members until you are so deep financially and emotionally that turning back just feels genuinely impossible. That deliberate hiding is the real issue. A genuine faith tells you what they believe from day one. Scientology keeps the warlord locked in a briefcase until you've already lost everything. The belief system is one thing, but these three tools are what really tell you what Scientology is. So, if you question the church or get labeled as a problem, you become what Scientology calls a suppressive person, an SP. And the moment that happens, every single Scientologist in your life is forbidden from speaking to you. Your spouse, your kids, your parents, friends of 20 years, anyone who breaks that rule as well is also labeled an SP as well. By that time, someone who has been inside the church for that long, who basically, everyone they love is inside that church as well. But because Scientology discourages close friendships with outsiders from early on, leaving doesn't mean leaving the religion. It also means losing your entire world with one move. Lehigh Remini spent 35 years in Scientology. When she left, she lost friendships she had had for decades, and then she spent years interviewing hundreds of people whose family were destroyed by this exact policy. Using love as a leash is not spiritual guidance, that's a trap. Kind of reminds me of the same thing Jehovah's Witnesses have going on, but this is not about them. Now, inside Scientology, there is an elite inner group called the Sea Org. The people who fully dedicate their lives to running the organization. They sign a contract, a billion-year contract. In this lifetime, they live in communal housing, work over 100 hours a week, and have reported to being paid as little as $50 a week. There's also an internal punishment program called the RPF. Members who step out of line are sent there for physical hard labor, restricted food, and no communication with other members. This is basically the gulag. Multiple former members have testified that children as young as 12 years old were assigned to the RPF, children, in the Gulag, inside a legally recognized church. And then there's the fair game policy. You see, Hubbard wrote in an official statement, or document, that enemies of Scientology, quote, may be deprived of property or injured by any means by any Scientologist without any discipline from these Scientologists. But when the backlash hit, Scientology cancelled the policy, but the cancellation letter said that they were cancelling the term because it had bad PR. The actions it explicitly stated would continue. And the documented examples, private investigated followed critics 24/7. Employers were contacted with false information trying to get people fired. Hundreds of lawsuits designed not to win, but to financially exhaust their opponents into silence. And an operation called Operation Snow White, in which Scientologists infiltrated the IRS, the FBI, the Justice Department, and intelligence agencies across multiple countries simultaneously. The largest infiltration of the United States government by a private organization in American history. Now, that is not a church. That is a military operation. So, it has now come time for the verdict. Faith or cult? Robert Lifton, one of the world's top researchers on cult behavior, developed 8 criteria for identifying a cult, and Scientology ticks all of them. Controlling member access to information, creating an absolute us versus them divide, using personal confessions to control people, treating the founder's doctrine as beyond all question, the power to decide who has value and who doesn't. Germany, France, and Belgium have classified Scientology as a dangerous organization and not a religion. Russia has even banned it. Courts across the world have ruled against it for human rights abuse, and yet they still operate here in South Africa. Same structure, same price system, same policies. So my verdict is that Scientology is indeed a cult. But before I close, I just want to say this. It's easy to watch a video like this and think only stupid people will fall for something like this. Leah Remini is sharp and successful and was inside for 35 years. Lisa McPherson was a warm, hardworking person who joined at 18 looking for community. The people in Scientology are human beings looking for the same thing all of us want: belonging. That isn't something that makes you weak. It's something that is universal. The trap doesn't close on day one. It closes slowly over years as your money, your social world, and your sense of identity all get woven into this organization. And by the time you see the full picture, leaving means losing everything. And that design, that slow, calculated construction of a trap, is what makes Scientology genuinely dangerous. Hubbard told us what he was doing before he even did it. He just didn't expect that anyone would still be talking about it 70 years later. But here we are. That was a lot. But if you've made it this far, genuinely, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you very much. If this video hit different, please share it with a friend, because you never know if there's someone in your life who's currently in a situation like this, and knowledge is power. Implied knowledge is power. But what I'd recommend that you do is that you go watch Going Clear on HBO and Leah Remini's series Scientology and the Aftermath. I think those two will give you the full detailed picture. I will leave the links in the description. And drop your thoughts, drop your 2 cents in the comments. If you have already spent 15 years and 5 million rands in Scientology, would you have the courage to walk away, or would the sunk cost be too much? I've spent too much now, it's too late to go. Because I think that is what bothers me, is that, you'd say I'd never fall for that, but these organizations are designed by people who really understand our psychology, and they realize that anyone can be vulnerable at the right moment in their lives. So it's important that you stay curious, that you stay critical, and if anyone offers you a free personality test there by the mall, just walk a bit faster. This is Tommy. This has been Faith Occult, and I'll see you in the next one. God bless.